Okay, so the New York Rangers have been in the news a lot lately, and today it's because they have fired their GM, Jeff Gorton, and their president, John Davidson. And let's be honest, this is definitely a shocker. I don't think anyone saw it coming now. I think we all expected if there was to be a firing of some sort for anyone in the organization, it was going to be after the season was over, considering there is only a few games left. And it's just really shocking to see it come at this time. Elliot Friedman reported on Twitter that he's one of the believers that maybe they were fired now because apparently they didn't really, or they weren't really a part of the statement. They didn't back it, so to speak, the Rangers' statement on Tom Wilson and the league's handling of that yesterday. That was more of a James Dolan type of statement apparently, so maybe that's why he fired them now. But still, I mean, I think Dolan could have waited till the end of the season. He has a reputation for having a reputation, let's just say, to put it nicely. You know, he has a reputation of being a bit of a bad owner. Let's put it that way. I mean, I'm going to be blunt about it. You know, it's usually him and Eugene Melnyk making headlines somehow. But yeah, so Dolan doesn't want these guys. They're not his guys, I guess he feels, going forward. I think that's a real shame because when Davidson was hired in May of 2019, it was almost like he was this breath of fresh air. He was back in the Rangers organization. He was just going to be this guy to turn around somewhat of a fledgling Rangers team at the time and turn them into a Stanley Cup contender. And while they're not a Stanley Cup contender right now, you can't say that they didn't make strides under Gorton and Davidson. I thought the Rangers made huge strides. Yeah, they didn't make the playoffs this year, but let's be honest, it was a pretty tough year for the teams, most of the teams that didn't make it. Some got pigeonholed because they were in a tough division. I think New York was a product of that. And speaking of the Rangers being in that Eastern division, that division, I mean, you know, in the World Cup of soccer, we have like the group of death every year. There's that every 4 years when they have it, there's always that group that everyone's like, oh man, that's going to be a really hard group. Murderer's Row, they call it, so to speak. That was the Eastern Division this year. Hands down, in my opinion, I think in most people's opinion, the hardest division in hockey, without a doubt. For me, I didn't pick the New York Rangers to make it. I thought maybe they could have a chance, but I picked the four that are going. Washington, Pittsburgh, Islanders, Bruins. All four of those teams are elite teams. They're hard to play against. The New York Rangers hung in as well as they could with them. Zibanejad had a slow start. Lafreniere and Capo Caco were very uninspiring this year, I found. And that really did the Rangers in. And you couple that with the fact that they're facing elite teams almost every night, except for maybe Buffalo and New Jersey. I mean, they just didn't really have much of a chance. The sad thing about the format this year is that you put New York in the North Division, they absolutely get in. They would dethrone either one of the Habs or the Jets to get into the playoff spot. For me, in my opinion, the North is the weakest division in the league. And, you know, also in that Central Division with Carolina, Florida, and Tampa, they would have got in at fourth, probably the Rangers would have. And even if they're out in the Western Division, they probably get in over the St. Louis Blues too, I'm going to go ahead and assume. But like I said, being in that Eastern Division really did them in this year. Is this why these guys got fired, or is it because they weren't really a part of the statement that the New York Rangers sent out? It was more of a James Dolan message. And is that why he fired them a few days before he probably would have anyways? I think it's a mistake. I want to mention Chris Drury is taking over for them. He's going to be both president and GM. I think Drury, he could be a solid GM, but man, I think it's a bit of a mistake. And to not let Gorton and Davidson finish what they started is a bit sad for me, even though I'm not a Rangers fan, but I'll admit it is a little bit sad. I would have liked to see them finish what they started. I think they had that team on a really good track. Took a bit of a step back this year, but like I said, because of a hard division. Can New York make the playoffs is my question in a regular year, a full 82-game season where we don't have, you know, all these weird divisions where everything's normal again. Could they make it next year? I don't know. I could see them definitely getting in at 8th or 7th or something like that, especially depending on what they add in the offseason or whatnot. But if guys like Capo Caco and Lafreniere, if those guys can be really good next year and be that support behind the Zibanejads and the Kreiders and the Panarins of the world, well, I think New York could be a pretty deadly team going forward. So those are my thoughts on the firings of Jeff Gorton and John Davidson. It's unfortunate, and I know a lot of people are like, well, these guys make a lot of money anyways, but still, it sucks to lose your job no matter what you do, and even if you are making millions of dollars. And it's tough for them too, because like I said, they didn't finish what they started. And it's always kind of tough to see that when these guys aren't the first case of this either, where you see a GM building a team, they're trending in the right direction, and bang, all of a sudden they get fired, and it's kind of like, wow, well, I didn't see that coming at all. And it's a little bit too bad for them, obviously, but hopefully they'll both land on their feet here soon. Please let me know what you all think in the comment section below. Also, like and subscribe and share this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.